Hello and welcome to Miss Armour's cookery class. Today we're going to be making some cheesy veggie muffins. They are really healthy and really tasty and a very nutritious snack. Okay, now don't forget to turn your oven on. Now we've got a fan oven, so we're going to set it to 180. So about there, okay? But if you don't have a fan oven, 200 degrees Celsius. So these are the things that you are going to need. You're going to need a muffin tray, okay? This has got 12 holes in it. You might have a bigger one or a smaller one. This is also a non-stick one, so you don't need to grease it with butter or oil. But if you don't have a non-stick one, you've just got to put brush a little bit of oil or butter in the bottom so your muffins don't stick, okay? Secondly, okay, a drying rack. Is it called a drying rack or an airing rack? This is what you put the muffins on so that they can cool slightly. A cooling rack, that's the one. We also need a measuring jug. Okay, so you've got your millilitres down the side there. We need a cheese grater. A sieve for the flour to get rid of all the lumps. Big mixing bowl. You might need another mixing bowl as well. I normally whisk the egg up in that, so just a small bowl, any small bowl will do. A knife, but you must use this knife with an adult, not by yourself. A wooden spoon for stirring and mixing, and I like to use a fork to whisk up my egg. You'll also need a chopping board. Secondly, here are the ingredients, okay? So you've got, I'm going to use the things that were in my fridge that need to be used up. So I'm going to use, today, cauliflower. I've got a couple of tomatoes, just to add a bit of tang and freshness. And I'm going to use a leek. So my vegetables, I know tomato is actually a fruit, are going to be tomato, cauliflower and leek. But you can use any vegetable you like. You can use a handful of spinach chopped up. You could use about 8 florets, small florets of broccoli. You don't have to use a leek. You can use an onion instead of a leek. This is just good flavour. And then the other vegetables you can mix up. You can use sweet corn, a few tablespoons of sweet corn. You could use grated carrot, grated courgette, mushroom. Basically anything you've got in your fridge that you need to use up. The other one is cheese. Obviously, if you are allergic to cheese, then leave the cheese out. You're going to need an egg, but there are egg substitutes. So if you are allergic to egg, you can use something different. Olive oil. Milk. Now, I'm going to use Oatly, which is dairy-free, but you can use dairy or non-dairy. It doesn't matter. And self-raising flour. Okay, let's get chopping. Right, so I'm going to start chopping my vegetables now. So I've got my cauliflower there, so I'm just going to take that bit off, remove these outer leaves. Now, if you're a really good cook and enjoy cooking, you can actually use these outer leaves if you're making a soup or a stew or a curry or something. But I'm just going to set them to the side at the moment because I'm not going to be using those. The part of the cauliflower that I want is this lovely fluffy white bit here, okay? So remember, you must use a knife or get an adult to do this cutting for you, okay? Because this knife is very sharp. You don't want to lose any fingers. Okay, so probably I would say about, let's see what this looks like when it's done. I'm not going to weigh it, I'm just going to judge it. So I would say, once we cut them all into small florets, like that, it's about 3/4 of a small cauliflower that you'd need, I'd say. If you're doing broccoli, I would say about 8 small florets, about the same amount. And this cauliflower is going to be steamed. I'm going to steam it with the leeks just to soften it up. Okay, next up I'm going to cut up my tomato. Now you can use cherry tomatoes or the little tomatoes like this, or the little plum tomatoes. But all I have was these big ones, so I'm just going to chop them into little pieces. And I think 2 should be just about the right amount. So if we halve, and then we halve again. Okay, so there are my 4/4, and then I'm going to just chop those into little bits. And it doesn't matter if your tomatoes are very ripe and a bit squishy, because they're just there for the flavour, so it really doesn't matter if you've just got some fruit and veg. Well, tomatoes are fruit, but we're going to pretend it's a vegetable for this recipe, that you need to use up. And now for the leek. So we've got the top end and the bottom end. Okay, we just need to get rid of that bottom end there. And these are the tough leaves. So you want to cut probably about down to here. That bit off, get rid of that. So we're just left with this. Now the thing about leeks, they're a root vegetable, and they are full usually of dirt. So what you need to do is you need to give them a good rinse. You can chop them and then put them in the sieve and wash them, or you can hold them under the tap like that. And just to be extra sure that they are nice and clean, I'm going to slice them and then give them a wash under the tap in this sieve. Same sieve that we used to sieve the flour. Save on the washing up, that's my motto. So there's our bit of mud and dirt, straight from the farmer's field. So we need to make sure that's washed off. We don't want to eat muddy muffins. And I forgot to say, you also need some kitchen scales so that you can weigh your flour and your cheese. Very important bit of equipment there. So I'm going to pop my mixing bowl on there. I'm going to turn the scales on. And I've got my sieve, so I'm going to put the flour through the sieve so we don't get any lumps. And we need 220 grams of flour. Now this is just ordinary self-raising flour, but if you have got an allergy, you can, there are lots of different flours on the market, gluten-free flours, coconut flour, all of that kind of stuff. So we need to wait until it goes up to 220. So we're getting close. There we go. So the next thing that we need to measure out is our cheese. So I've got another little bowl here. Turn the scales on again. Take our block of cheese and our grater, and we're going to grate the cheese in until we get to 120 grams. Obviously, if you're allergic to cheese, then you can leave it out, and you can use some other things to add a bit more flavour, like whole grain mustard or a pinch of herbs, whatever you've got in your cupboard, really. So now we've got our flour and we've got our cheese. We've got 220 grams of flour and 120 grams of cheese. And what we're going to do is put the cheese into the bowl with the flour and just mix it all together. Now at this point, what you can do, just to add a little bit more flavour, is you can put a little twist of black pepper in there, a couple of twists of that, just to add a bit of flavour. You've got a bit of salt in the cheese, so you don't really need to add any salt. It's not good for you to have too much salt anyway. Okay, there we are. Okay, so now we've got our cauliflower and our leeks. What we need to do with these is we need to steam them. So I've got a steamer pan like this. If I take the lid off, I'll show you inside. That is a sort of a colander. You put the veg in there, and then underneath you've got your boiling water. Okay, so you must, and I keep saying it, but you must have an adult help you to do this. It's very, very hot water. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to tip my cauliflower in, tip my nicely washed leeks. Don't forget to wash the cauliflower as well. In fact, all your vegetables need to be washed before you use them. Pop the lid on, and we're just going to wait for those to soften up a little bit. Okay, now we need to measure out our wet ingredients. So we're going to start with milk. We need 200 mils of milk. Now this isn't the best measuring jug in the world. I'm sure your one at home is a lot clearer than this. I do need to get a new one. It's on my list of things to do. So 200 mils of milk. There we go. And then we are going to top that up. I've got this fantastic measuring set of spoons here, but if you haven't, you can just use a tablespoon in your drawer. It's the biggest spoon that you'll have in your drawer, should be a tablespoon. So that's this one here, okay? And we're going to need 4 tablespoons of, oh, not 4, sorry, 3 tablespoons of olive oil. 1, 2, 3. One more wet ingredient now. Can you guess what it is? It's our egg. Okay, and I'd like to say that these are from Miss Lazelle's chickens, but we've already eaten all of those. We'll be doing a lot of baking since we've been at home. So what we're going to do is we're going to crack the egg. It's my favourite bit. Crack it into the bowl. Try not to get any shell in there. Oh, and I did, because I'm not very good at cracking eggs. I'm sure you're a lot better than me. We're going to hook out that bit of shell if we can. Excuse me. Oh dear. Good job this isn't a live cookery show, isn't it? Oh, no, it's getting away. There we go. Oh dear. And then we are going to just whisk up with our fork, like so. Just until it goes that lovely pale yellow colour. Done. Okay, now for the fun bit. It's all going to start coming together now. So we have got our cheese and our flour in our big mixing bowl. We've got our olive oil and our milk in there. And we are just going to pour it into our cheese and flour. We're going to add our egg. And my favourite bit, usually my little helper, Rigby, he's here to help, but he's in the garden playing with some toys, so he's not here to help me. So we need to mix that up. Now remember I said at the beginning that if you want to add a little bit more flavour, you can pop a little bit of whole grain mustard in there or some herbs or something. I'm just going to pop a teaspoon of whole grain mustard in just to give it a little bit more flavour. Mix that all together like so. It should be nice and a nice wet batter. Okay, there we are. Right, so the last thing that we're waiting for to add to our cheese and flour and mustard batter there with all our wet ingredients is our cauliflower and leek, which is in the steamer. Now if you look, that's all just started to soften up nicely there. Okay, so that will be ready now to pour into the rest of our batter. So oven off, hob off. Now, must get an adult to do this. This is very, very hot. Try and shake off some of that excess water. Straight into your batter. All those little bits there. And tomatoes. And you want to be giving that a good mix. So all the mixture is evenly spread. Okay, I'm going to give that, just because I'm big on flavour, just a few twists of pepper. There we go. So that's nicely mixed. Now all that's left to do is to pour it into your muffin trays. Okay, you might want to take an ordinary spoon to do this. It can be a bit messy if you're not careful. Now you want to spoon the mixture in. just up to the top of each muffin hole. And just try and think about getting a bit of every bit of vegetable in there, so every muffin's got a bit of everything. Okay, now that they're all done, all filled up, you might have a little bit of batter left over, in which case you can just wait to take these out and then pop some more in afterwards. We're going to open our oven. We're going to pop them in the middle of the oven. We are going to bake them for 20 to 25 minutes until they're nice and light golden brown. Okay, moment of truth. It's time to get my muffins out of the oven. I actually put mine in for 5 minutes longer. I left them in for 5 minutes longer just to get that nice golden brown on top. Okay, and they should be nice and risen. Remember to turn your oven off. And you need to leave them in that muffin tray until they cool, and you can transfer them to your cooling rack. Okay, time to cut open and see what it looks like. There we go, so quite gooey in the middle. You can see it's the cheese in there and the tomato. Okay, and now Rigby is going to try a bit. You try some, darling?
I don't want to eat the mulatto.
Okay, you don't have to. What do you think? Is it nice? Okay, that's a wrap. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Let me know when you've made some yourself. Bye!